There's a lot to unpack in Fallout 76. On one hand, it's similar to previous Fallout games, or at least some of their core concepts. You explore a vast wasteland, fend off irradiated creatures, and scavenge for resources. Yet when that isolation is punctured by another player, it puts you in a much different state of mind. It's no longer about fighting for your own goals at your own pace, but responding to the surrounding environment in unexpected ways. Thanks to that unpredictability, Fallout 76 has a setting that feels threatening and demanding. Although we only got to spend 3 hours with the game at a press event, it did leave us curious enough for more.
This is the Overseer. Signing off.
The adventure starts within Vault 76. Your time in the vault, though, is little more than a brief introduction. After being told the importance of key survival items like stim packs, which restore health, and camp, a movable base of operations, the player's thrust into the overwhelmingly large world. From there, it's really up to you. It's possible to dart in whatever direction seems most intriguing, but the developers stress that doing the initial batch of quests is a smart idea. It's smart not only because of the items and experience that come along with them, but also because these initial quests ease you into the game's central ideas. Crafting feels vital, and it's an activity you'll be regularly engaged with. Fallout 76 drives this home quickly, encouraging you to create simple melee weapons like a hatchet, as well as key defensive starting gear like leather armor. Melee weapons will break and need to be repaired, ammo can be somewhat difficult to come by, and the ever-prevalent demands of food and water will always be a source of concern. It won't take long until you fall into what seems like the game's central rhythm. Venture out, grab as much as you can carry, return to a base, and use those materials to craft as many supplies as possible. Only one person can use a crafting station at a time, so if you're with a group of friends, you'll have to take turns if you want to craft the same type of thing. It's more than worth it to travel with others though, not just for the obvious added strength, but because you can fast travel to the group leader, making it a lot easier to get around the world or to efficiently tackle multiple locations at once. The unending need for more supplies is an effective method of thrusting you into the broader world. Wander off in one direction and mirelurks will hungrily swarm you. In another, some brutish super mutants will charge at you while others snipe from the sidelines. These moments are not new to Fallout, far from it, but what makes them feel different than before is the chaos unleashed by having other players in the mix. You may be minding your own business when out of nowhere another player starts shooting in your direction. At that point, it's up to you to engage in PvP. It's a sort of handshake process that one player initiates by firing at another. If the opposing player wants to engage, all they have to do is fire back. Refusing to engage results in damage against the targeted player being heavily scaled back, so you don't have to worry about dying out of nowhere if PvP is something you want to avoid. The incentive for taking on other players is you'll be able to steal their junk, not weapons or armor, only things used for crafting. Regardless of whether or not you want to become a predator of the wasteland, the presence of PvP has an interesting way of throwing you off course. Simply running from or running around during a fight will often shift players away from whatever their initial destination was. Considering how many small hordes of enemies exist in any random spot, there's a lot that can catch someone off guard and stretch limited resources far more than expected. It creates a real and immediate sense of danger that wouldn't be present in the same way without other active players. Fighting off threats, whether it's monsters or other people, functions for the most part exactly as expected. The key difference is Vats, the iconic Fallout targeting system. Due to the always-online nature of 76, Vats no longer slows down time like in Fallout 4. Instead, it functions as a real-time auto-aim. By activating it, you're given a percentage that indicates how likely you are to hit a target. The percentage is influenced by factors like how close a target is, or whether or not they're behind cover. It's most useful against small and mobile enemies such as the tiny jumping robots found early on. In that sense, Vats is a tool that, depending on circumstance, may be a battle more manageable. Unfortunately, Vats can behave erratically, with the chance of success not lining up with how close and easily visible an enemy is. Another significant problem is a poor and inconsistent frame rate encountered throughout our session, although we were explicitly told that this problem was only relevant to our event and would be smoothed out for the upcoming beta. Character progression in Fallout 76 seems built around the idea that the game tugs players in many different directions. Upon leveling up, you'll be able to put a point into strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, or luck. You can then use points to equip cards that have specific bonuses. For example, a strength card may increase melee damage by 10%, and in order to equip it, you need to spend one of your available strength points. You'll get one card for leveling up, as well as additional cards from card packs, which are obtained periodically. These packs contain a random assortment of cards, so what you open will be more or less useful depending on the character build you want at that time. It's also possible to power up cards by combining them, but doing so increases the cost required to equip them. It all sounds more complicated than it actually ends up being, and to the game's credit, everything is limited just enough in the beginning so that you can wade through the system and intuitively piece it together. What makes progression so potentially interesting is its generous flexibility. Considering cards are where a lot of your strength comes from, being able to switch them around whenever you want and constantly experiment adds a lot of excitement to getting new cards. A new pack means new things to try out without the fear of committing to a build that ends up not working out. Such flexibility doesn't mean a lack of difficult decisions, since even though cards can be changed around, you're still limited by the amount of available points.
I just want to be the one you love.
Storytelling is an essential component to Fallout, and it's unclear how the approach in 76 will pan out. There are no human NPCs in the game, and it appears as though the bulk of the story will be told through audio logs, handwritten notes, and computer terminals. It's almost like you're a detective trying to gather as many clues as possible to identify what exactly happened before you woke up in Vault 76. Because of the limited time of our session, it was hard to gauge how enticing that hunt for information will be. In fact, there's a lot that's hard to gauge about Fallout 76, and it's clear 3 hours is nowhere near enough for a thorough evaluation. What's obvious, though, is that the game has a lot of potential, and we enjoyed our time in the Wasteland. It doesn't appear to be just Fallout thrown into an online setting, but instead a game that's designed around the idea of always being with other people. Fallout 76 creates something that's recognizable, but notably different than what's come before.